Yes guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to the George Benson football channel. It is a great time, isn't it? When you see Chelsea play at the weekend and you know that in less than 100 hours or so, you get to watch us again. We're back in Europa Conference League competition on Thursday night away in Greece. We've got Panathiniakos, probably, in my opinion, the trickiest match that we'll play in the competition this group stage. It's not going to be easy. You go to like these Eastern or Southern European countries, the atmosphere is always very intimidating. I remember from like watching Olympiacos games in the Champions League, it's always crazy. There's pyrotechnics, there's fireworks, there's everything. It's absolutely bonkers. So we got to hope that the Chelsea players don't get intimidated. I think it is quite lucky that we're in the Conference League this season. I've spoken about this before, that being in the Conference League might actually be the best competition for Chelsea to be in, with another new manager, another new start, I guess you could say, to the so-called project. As much as you'd rather be in the Europa League, in the Champions League, this is a great segue for this young Chelsea squad to not only get used to these European night atmospheres, but to hopefully keep building momentum by keep winning matches that the quality of this Chelsea squad should be able to win. Winning on the midweek matches gives you momentum. Even if it's a different starting 11, you win on Thursday, and then on the Saturday or the Sunday match, you get excited once again to get yourselves out there and keep going with those wins. So what we have here is a match that you obviously expect Chelsea to win, but another opportunity for Enzo Maresca to rotate the side, get minutes for certain players. And I'm excited for this game. All of these matches in the Conference League, when we start to see these Chelsea players take on board the advice, take on board all of the information that Enzo Maresca is giving us, what we get the chance to see is that opportunity again for players to be knocking on the door of the Premier League starters. Right now, obviously, Madueke scored in the game against Forest. There was that hat-trick against Wolves that basically cemented him in the side for a few games to come. It was a brilliant performance from him in that one. But Pedro Neto comes on in that match at Anfield, makes a massive difference. He obviously came on for Sancho, not necessarily Madueke in that game. But the Liverpool match was an interesting one. As much as I was emotionally charged and fueled with frustration, anger at the officials and stuff after the game, I kind of mellowed out quite quickly. I rewatched the match again, looked at little intricacies and nuances, and really, Chelsea, if you look at the momentum chart from the match against Liverpool, we had a lot of the ball. We managed to get some really good opportunities, but again, it was that final ball and the finishing was poor. We had less than 10% of our shots on target, which isn't good when Liverpool have their second choice goalkeeper out there. But what I hope to see from this Chelsea team here in this game at Panathinaikos, I want us to start being clinical. I want us to start being lethal. And I mean, we've one of the top scorers in the Premier League, so we're not being clinical this season. But I want to see us playing with a bit of swagger. I want to see us taking this match and using it with the players that are going to get minutes, and we're about to build my team in a second. Players need to really stake their claims here. I don't remember the last time that Chelsea have had such a clean bill of health when it comes to the squad. And when you look at the players that we're going to be bringing in next summer, Kendry Pires is coming, Esteval's coming, there isn't any space for any player in this Chelsea team right now to be resting on their laurels, not putting in 100%, because there's so many options that we've got in this squad with Maresca. So players just don't have the time or any matches to be average. We don't have any opportunities for players to not be performing because we can literally handpick someone and throw them into the position. We got multiple wing-backs and full-backs fit now, which is excellent. Benoit Badiashile, I thought he was quite good against Liverpool. He looked really solid when he came on. So there are defenders knocking on the door if the centre-backs keep screwing up. And the midfield, that is where it's interesting, because Lavia's not in the squad. Remember, there's no Cole Palmer, I think there's no Fofana, and there's no Lavia in the squad. I think Reece James is in there, potentially. And I say potentially, I should know this before I record, sorry. Philip Jorgensen suffered a concussion, apparently, in the Denmark under-21s game in the international break, which is why Chelsea didn't have him in the squad for the game against Liverpool. They're kind of just following the protocols that the FA suggests for players that suffer concussions. I don't think it was major, but I think it is different ruling in European competitions. So Chelsea are hoping that Philip Jorgensen is going to be available for selection. But again, if it's Sanchez, it's Sanchez. I don't think Bettinelli gets the game. I think Jorgensen, though, should be ready in time for this match. So I'm recording this video before the press conference just because of time differences where I live and where the press conferences happen, and making sure you guys get this video before the match and you've got enough hours to take the content in. Before we do build the side though, if you're not yet subscribed to this YouTube channel, please do. And if you do enjoy these match previews, smack a like on the video. And if you want to watch or listen, if you'd rather listen to the podcast, the 3 More Points podcast that we release every week on GBFC, you can check the QR codes that are on the screen throughout this video. It will take you to the Apple podcast or the Spotify podcast. So, based on the idea that Philip Jorgensen will be fit and healthy and available for this game, he starts in goal. And I always do this when we talk about the goalkeepers. It doesn't matter if it's like a Conference League game, Premier League game, Carabao Cup game. We always compare the goalie that we pick to the other one. Sanchez at Liverpool, there were a couple of moments where, again, we've just got our head in our hands thinking, what is the bloke doing? And what I want to see from Jorgensen, if he does manage to get out there, I really hope for his sake that he's going to be fit here, because I still think there are just errors waiting to be had from Sanchez. And I don't know how long or how many errors or how many moments of we're going to need before Philip Jorgensen gets in the team. I don't know. Like, I praise Sanchez at times this season because he's won us points and he's won us games. But at the same time, I'm like, is just not that guy. And I think there's a video that I'm going to record either today, and it was the last video on the channel, or it'll be out after the Panathiniakos game or whatever, where I talk about this goalkeeping situation that we have at the club. But Philip Jorgensen is my starter, moving into a back four. And I'm going with something here, a little bit curious, but we're going to go with Reece James at right back. Again, I might have screwed this up. He might not be in the squad, but I think he is in the squad. Reece James at right back, Tosin, Benoit Badiashile, and then Renato Vega, of course, as the left back. I think Vega, he's one of those, he's a shithouse player. You saw what he was doing to Mo Salah in the game at Anfield, just giving him a little push, little shove, trying to irritate him, but again, under the radar and the visuals of the referee. It's great. I love Renato Vega. Reece James, 52 minutes he managed at Anfield. It's an interesting one to look at. We spoke about it in the podcast episode this week. Is that a substitution where it was always going to happen, regardless of whatever the score was going to be, Reece James was going to come off at that time? I think this is a perfect game again to get minutes under his belt. I think he looked fit. I think positionally, defensively, there's always been a couple of question marks about Reece, but I want to see him start if he can in this game. Tosin and Badiashile. Tosin, I thought, was poor in the match against Liverpool. He could have easily been sent off on any other given day. It was just a bit early in the match. I don't think the referee wanted to do it. Benoit Badiashile looked pretty good, actually, when he came on, to be fair. Chelsea were good against Liverpool. Let's not beat around the bush. This is my back four. We move into a midfield two. And as much as there's a lot of question marks about Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall, I think he's building momentum in that last game against Ghent. I thought he was good, got his first goal. So I'm going with Enzo Fernandez and Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall. We saw Enzo come off the bench at Anfield. We saw Lavia start. I think over the course of the next few weeks, when Chelsea have got these games on a Wednesday night, Carabao Cup, Thursday night, Europa, then we've got Premier League football with very difficult matches at the weekends. We've got Newcastle at the weekend in the Prem. Then we've got Man United the following weekend with Arsenal coming up, but with Newcastle again in the Carabao Cup sandwiched. So there is going to be minutes here for pretty much everybody, apart from maybe Benjamin Bloody Chilwell. He might not get a sniff, he might. We never know. But I think with this here, Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall is kind of got that license to get forward again, join those attacking four players that we're going to go through in a minute. And I think with Enzo Fernandez, I'm bringing this up, and I have to keep kind of defending myself, because as much as Harry joked about it in the podcast this week too, I like Enzo. Guys, I do. I have to keep making this clear. I'm just struggling to see in the Premier League how his style of football is going to stay long-term in the Chelsea team when you've got someone so comfortable and confident on the ball in that pivot position as Romeo Lavia. I'd actually love to see, but we can't because Lavia is not in the squad. I'd love to see Lavia and Enzo in a game like this where Chelsea should have control. Chelsea should have possession. And I kind of just want to see how the pivot that we see in this Chelsea team, obviously we've got a fullback that inverts into that midfield. I want to see these combinations a bit more. But I think what we've got with Dewsbury Hall and Enzo, Dewsbury Hall is obviously naturally the player that will want to carry the ball, run with it, get into attacking areas. Enzo likes to get in the final third, but we're still not seeing that product at the moment in that final third. So Enzo's job is to assure the back line, protect them in front of it, and then start distributing the ball quickly. And Kieran Dewsbury Hall's role is to run with it, dribble with it, release it quickly again to get it to one of these 4 front players. Mudryk, Nkunku, Felix, and Neto. Look, Chelsea have got... We're so lucky, guys, to have so many great attackers, with more to come next summer. I think here, Nkunku, he just scores every time he plays right now, doesn't he? We're going to give the score predictions at the end of this video, so stay tuned to the end. Joao Felix, at the moment, I wanted to see him come on against Liverpool. Whenever you've got a player of that ability on the ball, on the bench, and you lose, you're like, what if Felix would have come on? What could he have done if he was given a few minutes, if he was given an opportunity? This, again, is a massive opportunity for him. Every single one of these players, and we're going to talk specifically about Mudryk in a second, but every single one of these players on the field that you see here has a point to prove. Even Reece James, he's got to prove that he can stay fit. Renato Vega has got to prove that he's got the composure to not be erratic, to manage that temperament that he has, and keep being a strong personality on the field for Chelsea, particularly these attacking 4. Mudryk. Now, for whatever reason, in the build-up to this game against Panathiniakos, I look at Mudryk and I think he's the star. I think the way that he's played, both for Ukraine and in the little cameos that we've seen for Chelsea, has been different. Remember when we first saw Mudryk explode at Anfield on his debut, and he comes on, gives Trent Alexander-Arnold one of the worst 20 minutes of his career. He was absolutely running him ragged. And since then, I think the pressure of being a Chelsea player, having that price tag, obviously there's a lot of stuff going on at home, in his home country in Ukraine for Mudryk as well, which cannot be easy for a footballer to just zone out of all of this and just be the world-class player that everyone thought he should be, wants him to be, and hasn't been, quite frankly. But I think Enzo Maresca's taken the pressure off of him. I think right now, being a bit part player, which sounds a bit horrible, but I think that is exactly what Mudryk has needed. He knows that Sancho's been bought in, Neto's been bought in, because he's not been delivering. And in a game like this against Panathinaikos, this is Mudryk's time to shine. And I'm going to say that Mudryk puts in an absolute blinder here. I think he's going to score and get an assist. My score prediction is Panathinaikos 0, Chelsea 4. I think we go there, and I think we slap them up here. I really do. I think we're going to want to bounce back from that Liverpool defeat. I think the fact that as the season's going on, and we're not winning every match, but we're doing well, I think the players that don't start the Premier League games will look after a Premier League loss and think, I could start this next league game if I put in an unbelievable performance here on the Thursday. Yes, fitness then comes into play as well. And there is players like Lavia, Palmer that can't be selected, can't even be brought off the bench for these games, but whatever. I think Chelsea are going to run riot here. I think we score 4 goals again in the Conference League. I'm going to say Nkunku's going to get 2. I think Mudryk scores, and I think Joao Felix scores. That is what we're going for. 4-0 Chelsea is my prediction. Let me know yours in the comments down below. And as well as that, I think I'm probably not going to be live for this game because it is just at a ridiculous time in midweek. So there's probably not going to be a watch-along. There might be if for whatever reason I can fall asleep at 6 in the evening. Very difficult to do. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. As well as that, I want to point you in the direction of the end cards here on this screen. Me and Georgie, we've got a joint channel and we're doing daily vlogs-ish at the moment. So make sure you check those out. They're on the screen now. Thank you guys for watching. And I'll see you for 6 things we learned after the game. Come on, you Blues.